He was the man of every woman's dreams, a billionaire with a life filled with luxury, power, and a stunning fiancée by his side. But behind all the opulence, he felt a deep emptiness. He sensed that the love he received was for his wealth, not for who he truly was. In a bold move, he decides to test his fiancée's heart by creating the ultimate challenge. He pretends to lose his memory. No money, no identity, no sparkle of his fortune. Now he depends on her for survival, unsure if she loves him for who he is or only for the lavish life he offers. But as the plan unfolds, her reactions are not what he expected. When everything begins to crumble, he realizes that the true test of love was not what he thought, and his life and feelings are about to be transformed in an unexpected way. What will he discover about the true nature of love and loyalty? And more importantly, what will he need to sacrifice to finally understand what really matters? Get ready for a story of love, lies, and redemption. The test of love that changes everything is about to begin. Are you ready for the twists and turns of this plot? Lucas was driving at full speed, his Ferrari cutting through the roads with precision. The fine rain and the cold wind seemed insignificant, but the thick fog ahead seemed determined to challenge his confidence. When he lost control of the wheel, the world became a blur of sounds and distorted images. The crash of the car against the tree echoed down the empty road, and everything went dark. When Lucas woke up, the pain was nearly unbearable, but there were no serious injuries. The hospital was crowded, but nothing seemed to make sense. He was surrounded by doctors and nurses, but one face stood out: Beatrice, his fiancée. Her eyes, normally cold and calculating, were now flooded with genuine concern. She seemed relieved, but also suspicious. He couldn't remember anything, not even her. She gently explained that the accident had been serious, but he was fine. However, Lucas, still in shock, felt a strange sensation. What did she truly feel for him? What if her concern was only due to his status? The idea began to hammer in his head. What if he tested her loyalty? What if he lost his memory for real? What would she do? Beatrice insisted that he go home, and upon arriving at his mansion, Lucas decided to follow through with his plan. He would pretend to have a complete memory loss. As he looked at the luxurious furniture, the expensive paintings on the walls, and the objects that decorated the place, a feeling of emptiness overwhelmed him. He had never known if she truly loved him or if she was just taking advantage of his fortune. The first few days after the accident were a whirlwind of emotions for both of them. Beatrice was always around, trying to help Lucas in every way she could. But he watched every gesture she made, every look she gave. He was aware that she didn't know what he truly felt, but would she be able to endure the loss of a life of luxury if necessary? He would find out. Beatrice was everywhere. She cared for Lucas with a devotion that seemed genuine, but the concern he saw in her eyes didn't seem to be that of a passionate lover. There was something else, something he couldn't quite pinpoint. Lucas began to feel an increasing discomfort. Did he love her? Or was he simply caught up in the security of a world full of wealth and ostentation? As the days went by, Beatrice was always there, helping him get up, preparing his meals, and caring for him with dedication. She said she felt a huge responsibility for his recovery, but Lucas started to see that she didn't seem as happy as before. She appeared distant, as if her presence was a burden to bear, rather than a reflection of true love. In moments of silence, Lucas would look at her, trying to feel something deeper, something beyond the image of the beautiful woman he had chosen. But something didn't feel right. When she would leave to take care of errands, he would feel an emptiness, a lack of connection that he had never experienced before. He didn't know what she thought or how she felt, but the sensation that there was something he still hadn't discovered began to trouble him. One evening, while they were having dinner, Lucas subtly asked a question, trying to gauge Beatrice's reaction. "Would you do this for anyone?" he asked, referring to the constant care she had been giving him. Beatrice looked at him with a soft smile and hesitated before responding, "I would do whatever was necessary to help you, Lucas." But her smile didn't reach her eyes. Lucas realized there was something more behind her words. The doubt continued to grow inside him. He felt like their relationship was being forced, as if he were more of a responsibility for Beatrice than a true partner. And while she seemed to be making an effort, he wondered if she truly loved him or if his luxurious life was the only reason she was still there. Lucas was determined to understand Beatrice once and for all. He knew something was missing, and the only way to find the answer was to delve into her past. Discreetly, he began asking questions about her childhood and her family, trying to figure out if she had any ties to the world he knew. Beatrice, always so reserved, initially avoided talking about her past. However, Lucas noticed that she became uncomfortable whenever he brought it up. After some time, Beatrice relented and began to share a bit of her story. She grew up in a humble family with limited resources. She spoke of her mother, who worked as a seamstress to support her, and her father, who had abandoned them when she was still a child. Lucas listened attentively, becoming increasingly intrigued by the woman whose past seemed so far removed from the luxury world he was immersed in. Her words seemed genuine, but Lucas couldn't shake the doubt. He asked her if his wealth had attracted her. Beatrice, visibly unsettled, answered with a nervous smile, "I never cared about money, Lucas. I fell in love with you. For who you are, not what you have." But even then, Lucas couldn't fully believe her. He felt there was more hidden behind her words. Night fell, and Lucas couldn't stop thinking about what she had said. There was something about Beatrice that he still couldn't understand. He began to wonder if she truly loved him or if she was simply tied to the life of luxury he offered. No matter how hard she tried, her past seemed to always linger, woven into the present in a way he didn't know whether to see as good or bad. Lucas found himself making a difficult decision. He needed to test Beatrice even more, but this time in a different way. It couldn't just be about money or wealth. He wanted to see if she cared for him, the man behind the fortune. He began to invent everyday, simple situations, things he had never needed to do alone. Grocery shopping, cooking, even dealing with daily problems. "Beatrice, I think I need a bit of help figuring out how to handle this," he said, his tone uncertain, as he looked at a pile of papers. She seemed to hesitate before offering her support but readily agreed, always concerned for his well-being. Every gesture of hers seemed sincere, but Lucas noticed that she was still divided, as if she were trying to be the perfect woman but not entirely genuine. She spent hours with him, helping him adapt to a simple life, but Lucas began to notice something was changing. She was starting to show signs of fatigue, as though the pressure to care for him was overwhelming her. He couldn't understand why. He wanted her to do this willingly, out of love, not out of obligation. One cold night, Lucas proposed a simple activity. A dinner at home, just the two of them, away from the luxury of their usual parties. He wanted to see how she would react to an intimate moment, free of any distractions. During the dinner, he observed her, trying to sense what was going on inside her. But once again, he couldn't find a clear answer. Beatrice was there beside him, but there was still something between them, a barrier he couldn't break through. She laughed at a joke he made, but the smile didn't seem genuine. He felt a pang of frustration grow within him. He was beginning to doubt everything: his own feelings, Beatrice's sincerity, and even what he truly wanted. How could he have everything he ever wanted and still feel empty? Maybe love wasn't as simple as he thought. Lucas was beginning to grow impatient. He needed a clear answer, something that would finally convince him that Beatrice truly loved him. So, on a sunny afternoon, he did something bold. He offered Beatrice a big business opportunity. "There's a company looking for someone with skills like yours, Beatrice. They're offering a generous sum to anyone who accepts the challenge. Would you do this for me?" he asked, his expression serious. Beatrice looked at him with a mix of surprise and hesitation. "You know I'm not the type to accept business proposals. I'm not here for money, Lucas." But Lucas, with a subtle smile, insisted. "I understand, but it's a great opportunity. If you decide to go, life will be much easier. We could even travel together to celebrate." She fell silent, clearly torn between following her heart or accepting the tempting financial offer. She spent the following days reflecting on the proposal. Lucas observed every move she made, every word she said. He was impatient, but also curious. He knew this was his chance to finally get the answer he had been searching for. In the end, Beatrice made a decision he didn't expect. She said, "I can't leave you now, Lucas. I'd rather be by your side, even if we have nothing. Love is more important to me." Lucas was stunned. He had expected her to accept the offer, but she surprised him by deciding to stay. This deeply affected him. Was Beatrice's love for him real, or was she just trying to please him? Lucas felt a mix of gratitude and confusion. He had tried to test her, but now he was more lost than before. In the days that followed, Lucas began reflecting on Beatrice's decision. Her reaction had left him in shock, but at the same time, something in his heart had changed. He started to realize that his own feelings were tangled in a complex way. He had initiated this loyalty test because he doubted Beatrice's sincerity, but now he began to see that he was more lost than she was. He thought about what she had said, that she loved him regardless of money, power, or everything he represented. That had touched him in a way he hadn't imagined. On a quiet night, he sought her out on the house's veranda, where she was gazing at the starry sky. He approached her and, without saying a word, embraced her tightly. Beatrice, surprised by the gesture, looked at him but didn't say anything. Lucas, with a heavy heart, finally spoke. "I don't know what I want anymore, Beatrice. I made you go through all of this because I was trying to find an answer, but now I see that I was testing the wrong person. I was trying to see if you loved me, but what I really needed was to understand myself. I love you, Beatrice. I love you." She looked at him in silence, her eyes softly illuminated by the moonlight. For a moment, the world around them disappeared. She breathed deeply and, with a lightness he hadn't expected, said, "I knew, Lucas. But you needed to go through this to understand." Lucas remained silent for a long time. He felt that, in some way, he had overcome the greatest challenge of his life. Money, wealth, fame, all that surrounded him seemed small in comparison to the reality that what he was truly seeking was something simple. Genuine love and the ability to give himself to it without expectations. Lucas no longer knew what to think. The last few days had been intense and revealing, but something still bothered him. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was losing control of the situation, that things were changing in a way he hadn't anticipated. With this in mind, he decided it was time to confront Beatrice, for real, and understand once and for all the essence of their relationship. One morning, while they were having coffee together, Lucas stared at her and asked, "Beatrice, did you know what I was doing all along?" Beatrice, with her eyes slightly widened, looked at him without looking away. "I knew, Lucas. From the very beginning." The silence dragged on for a moment, until Lucas, with a slight smile, leaned forward. "Why didn't you tell me? Why did you let me play with this?" Beatrice took a deep breath, as if weighing each word before speaking. "Because I knew you needed to go through this. I knew you needed to see how your own doubts were preventing you from being happy, from trusting. I didn't want to be the one to tell you because it wouldn't have made any difference. You needed to feel all of this, learn the hard way." Her words hit him like a punch in the stomach. Lucas had never imagined she knew everything, and it left him even more confused. He had expected her to accuse him, to somehow break their relationship, but that wasn't what happened. Instead, she challenged him in a way he hadn't anticipated. Calmly, clearly, without throwing everything in his face. She wanted him to be able to find himself, to understand what truly mattered. Lucas was stunned. He didn't know what to feel or what to say. The confrontation he feared more than anything, where his insecurities could finally destroy him, didn't happen. Beatrice, on the contrary, had disarmed him, showing him that the real test wasn't about loyalty, but about trust. Trust in her, but more importantly, trust in himself. That night, Lucas couldn't sleep. He got up several times, walked around the house, trying to organize his thoughts. His mind was filled with unanswered questions. Why hadn't Beatrice given up on him? What did she really want? And most importantly, deep down, he knew there was still one big question left to resolve. Could he fully trust her? And more, could he trust himself to love truly? As the night grew late, he finally made a decision. He went down to the garden of the mansion, where Beatrice was, looking at the starry sky again. She seemed calm, as if she knew he was there. When he approached, she turned her face toward him, her gaze soft, yet firm. "I did everything wrong, Beatrice," he began, his voice low and filled with emotion. "I tested you, I doubted you, and the worst part is that I didn't even know myself. I was searching for something that didn't need to be searched. I love you, Beatrice. And no matter how much I tried to resist, I can't deny it." Beatrice didn't answer immediately, but her smile was all Lucas needed. He knelt in front of her, a simple gesture, but one that said everything he couldn't express. "I don't know what will happen to us, but I want to try, I want to find out, without more lies, without more games." She extended her hand to him, and he took it firmly, as if he never wanted to let go. "I love you too, Lucas. But understand one thing. Love isn't about what we have, it's about who we are. And if you truly love me, everything will be all right." In that moment, Lucas felt that something had changed forever. He knew that no matter the wealth or material possessions, what truly mattered was the genuine love he had finally found. Not just for Beatrice, but for himself. As the days passed, Lucas and Beatrice began to reconnect in a way he had never imagined. He no longer cared about the large mansion, the luxury cars, or the parties. The only thing that mattered was the connection he had with her, a connection he had sought in the wrong places for so long. However, Lucas's world was still very far from the simplicity he desired. There were meetings, commitments, and obligations that he would inevitably have to face. He knew he could no longer hide behind his wealth. The real challenge would be adapting to a life that was more balanced, more true. Beatrice, for her part, was calmer than ever. She had shown her loyalty, her strength, and most importantly, her unconditional love. She knew the road wouldn't be easy, but she was willing to face it with Lucas. They began to make decisions together, without external pressures. He learned to deal with the reality of a world where money no longer bought anything but problems, and she helped him remember who he really was. As they walked together toward an uncertain future, Lucas faced a difficult choice. Continue in his world of luxury, or follow what his heart now longed for. The true victory, he knew, wasn't in being the powerful billionaire he had once been, but in being someone worthy of love, someone who finally knew what it meant to live beyond appearances. Time passed, and despite the ups and downs, Lucas and Beatrice were more united than ever. The life they had built together was no longer based on material things but on the experiences they shared. They traveled, learned, and most importantly, loved. Their love had been tested on many occasions, but with each challenge, they grew stronger. Lucas began giving lectures on how true success was not found in accumulated fortunes but in the authentic relationships we form. He used his experience as the heir to a vast fortune to teach others not to get lost in the traps of materialism. Beatrice, with her calm strength, became an advocate for social causes, working tirelessly to help those in need. They no longer needed to test each other. What they had was real, stronger than any test they could create. When Lucas looked at Beatrice, smiling on a warm summer afternoon, he finally understood the most important lesson. True love doesn't need to be tested. It simply is. And so the legacy of Lucas and Beatrice was not in what they owned, but in the deep love they had cultivated, a love that transcended luxury, lies, and games. Together they built a true life, where money was just a detail amidst what truly mattered. And so, the fate of Lucas and Beatrice transformed in ways neither of them could have predicted. What seemed like a simple test of love turned out to be a journey of self-discovery, sacrifices, and choices that forever changed the course of their lives. The real question is, how far would you go for love? If this story moved you, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and leave your comment on what you thought. And if you haven't subscribed yet, be a part of this journey of touching and impactful stories. We have many more surprises for you. Don't miss out. Until the next video, and remember, true love is the greatest test of all.